Hi everyone, it's Tanya Stacey from Cup of Chai Tea Channel, the place for all those tea lovers and tea addicts to build your tea knowledge. So this is the second part of episode 3 of the Tea and Food Summer Series, Tea and Food Pairing Summer Series. And this is the third episode, and it's the second part of my interview with Kim Cooper from the Steepery. If you haven't seen the first interview, the first part, I'll put a link to it up here or up there so you can watch that first. And she dives in really deep into tea and food pairing from a customer's point of view. So now we will move on and hear about her tea and food pairing favourites, what she's done well, what other people have done well.
The best combination that I believe that I've made so far, it was a single origin chocolate with tea. Single origin chocolate pairing, I will later tell you, has been very challenging. So I will talk about that as an experience later. But I feel really proud that I found one combination that I think worked very nicely. So it was an Ecuador dark chocolate of 56% cacao from the Republic del Cacao. And the beautiful thing about RDC chocolates is that they're truly single origin. So single origin in the bean, but single origin for every ingredient that's brought into the chocolate. So they all come from the same place. The notes of this particular Ecuador chocolate, it's fruity. It's not in your face fruity, but it has developing berry fruits and a little bit of a mild bitterness to the chocolate itself. Yep. And I decided to pair this, I played around with pairings, but in the end I settled for a Wui Faux Show tea. Now, this is not to be mistaken for a faux show that's very famously produced in Yongshan, and it's also not a Taiwanese faux show. It's very much unique to the Wui area, and it's quite new in terms of bringing this particular style of processing into the area. But what it does, it contains those Wui notes, which I find really beautiful. So a little bit minerally, it's roasted at the end of the process over charcoal fire, so it's got that toastiness. Yeah. And the tea itself, it's highly aromatic, very floral with some pear and stone fruit flavours, and then those delicate toast and minerally notes. So it's sort of like a newer process, classically tasting Wui tea. So it's really interesting. But I found the actual pairing itself, the mouth feel, it was just really smooth and creamy and leaves a long lasting sweetness in the mouth of brown sugar, which was it was beautiful and very enjoyable. Then it's the combination of the aroma and the berry fruits and the mild bitterness in the chocolate that just made it a really lovely experience in the mouth and a overall tasting experience. So for me, that's been my highlight to date, I would say. Food experience at a place I personally probably would never have known about. It's just that it had come up a couple of times in amongst my peer group, and also by someone that is a former Tokyo resident. So the place is called Higashiya Ginza, and essentially it was a sort of a Japanese style afternoon tea. So within this afternoon tea set, I was able to select 2 teas from either a seasonal list or they have a standard listing as well, which was very, very extensive. Right. Then the food was brought out in 3 trays. So there was 3 trays, one containing some inari sushi, some with some light bites, more savoury style, and then wagoshi, which is the Japanese sweets at the end, or whenever you like, actually. So I love this experience because firstly, the tea was prepared absolutely perfectly. And as you know, Tanya, you make a lot of tea and I make a lot of tea, but to have received tea that's been made really well and with great intention, it's one of the most enjoyable things ever.
It is, yep.
So the tea was, there was, the actual tea service itself was beautiful. And I had the choice of when I actually drank the two teas. So the two teas I chose what they call Z1, which is a lightly steamed sencha, which is seasonally selected. And then the other tea that I chose was called the Sun and Bencha, which is an aged green tea, sometimes mistakenly thought of as a hojicha, because it has some toast elements to it, but it's a little bit milder, and it's been aged for 3 years, which is Sanan, which is 3 years. So, and then I think, even though everything was meticulously prepared like the Japanese do to perfection, so everything was equally spaced out on the plate, so the actual presentation was beautiful. When the tea was given to me and when the food was given to me, it was the most non-fussy and flowing experience I've ever had. And I was just able to sit there and pick at different bites, whether they be sweet and savoury, drink the tea, so I was layering on different flavours and aromas, and the actual tea and food combination that I think worked the best, or was the most interesting to me. It was a date that was filled with a little bit of butter and a piece of walnut on top. At the time I was drinking the Sun and Bencha, so it was this mild, toasty, very hot prepared cup of tea, and it just worked so lovely and completely not what I've ever put together. So I think that was the highlight for me. The most difficult pairing has been the putting together a tasting menu for the single origin chocolate and single origin tea workshop that I've recently been working on. And I think it's because that single origin chocolate itself is just so super intense and rich and complex, that if you were just doing one or two chocolate pairings, you'd be able to sort of enjoy them very easily. But as you keep layering upon layering each tea and chocolate pairing, there's always something left behind, I think, from each of the pairings. So while a lot of the chocolates I really wanted to work with was sort of dark chocolates with a varying level of notes, I had to actually revert and pare back and go, make sure that I had a good mixture of, I used a white chocolate, and then I used a couple of milk chocolates before we got onto the dark chocolate. And I still think that there's more work to be done on the format and the way to sort of best present that combination. I guess it's my challenge going forward.
Yeah.
I think my favourite tea and so my personal favourite teas as a grouping are Taiwanese oolongs. Yay! And the very first Taiwanese oolong I was ever introduced to, properly and an authentic one, was Dongding or Tongting.
Yeah.
And to be honest, they have continued to be one of my favourite teas. I can drink it any time of the year, any time of the day, and just be able to sit with it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's really hard because I have actually travelled quite a lot, but I think, and if I move away from just talking about all of my tea favourite places, which I do, I love anywhere where there's big, beautiful tea cultures. So, Taiwan, Japan and China have to, recognise that. But where I found myself most happy and I feel most connected and grounded is when I'm in nature, and I actually love hiking. My husband and I used to, prior to our children being with us, we used to do like multi-stage hiking where we'd hike for a day and then camp or stay and then continue on. So one of my favourite places in the world is the Lakes District. My husband and I did the Coast to Coast Trail from the west coast of England to the east coast, and where I really hope to take my kids back to and return to someday is a little place called Grasmere, which is in the Lakes District, and it's just stunning. Sure. So people can find me. I have an online store, and I also blog. So have a look at Tealosophy. It's www.thesteepery.com.au. I'm also active on my social channels, which is Facebook at The Steepery and Instagram, which is at The Steepery Tea. And I'm physically located at Wandering Cooks, which is a venue here in Brisbane, every Sunday morning, 11 in the morning. So you come down and enjoy all of my tea offerings, and I'm always up for a chat about anything tea. In terms of what I've got coming up, if we're looking into the new year, I certainly will be looking to do some more tea and food events, and really looking to think more about and challenging myself with the experience. So when I take a chance to get through this year and take a step back, I'll be looking reinvigorating some of those experiences, which I'm really excited about, and hopefully some really great tea education workshops coming up as well. Really things that are going to be very useful around brewing and water up here, which is also an issue,